Hello and welcome back for part 3 of my Gilead Graduate. Why do I always do that? Part 3, but I show 6. It's so stupid. Anyway, this is the Gilead Graduation. Like the video, subscribe to the channel. We have a Patreon. All the links are down below. Thank you guys so much for all of the support. It's kind of nice to see the channel grow. ZZ's here. We have fancy water. All we need is some finger guns and run the intro. ZZ, was that the worst intro ever? What do you think?
Thanks. Thanks, Bill. As usual, we thoroughly enjoyed your talk. Now, our second pre-recorded interview of a Gilead graduate, now in his assignment, takes us to Ecuador, South America. This brother serves on the branch committee in Ecuador, and he graduated from the 142nd class of Gilead. Notice as he explains, the positive impact that Gilead graduates had on him from his childhood, and how his training while at Gilead helped him to appreciate what is truly important.
Brother and Sister Tapia will be going back to Ecuador.
All right, so we are continuing on our journey, as Tony Morris said, with examples from all over the world. And this one is a little bit special to me because it's in Ecuador, a country that I've been to, and a branch office that I've been to, and I've had breakfast, lunch, and dinner with several of the branch committee members there. Long story, probably save it for a different video, but maybe I'll show a couple pictures on screen. Anyway, a teaser for maybe I'll make a video about that whole scenario that happened there. Anyway, yeah, let's see what's going on with the Ecuador branch and this Gilead graduate. I don't believe that I met him, and scrolling through my pictures, I didn't see him anywhere. So yeah, don't know who this guy is, but I'm sure as a Bethelite that he would be very annoyed at this bell that's ringing that's on top of my head. Because you're annoyed. ZZ likes the hat though, so it's fine. You're fine.
Gilead training is a beautiful way that Jehovah is using divine education to train people not only for their benefit. Having Gilead graduates all around the world, we are sharing the impact of this school for the brothers and sisters who are working with these students and future graduates. It was
so just something very quickly. Real quick there in the shot, you could see that the lady, it looked like she was holding some kind of like makeup brush or something. And I found this really, really interesting because when the Watchtower is talking about like not dressing up like a woman or not having the appearance that you're a part of the homosexuals because you're wearing tight or revealing clothing, and all of that good stuff. I'm going to do a dedicated video on this because I think the idea is really funny. But something that struck me was that the Bible doesn't talk about wearing earrings, and other than, you know, piercing the ear of your slave, and yet witnesses, they cannot wear earrings. And I'm thinking like, why? What is the actual reason that they can't wear earrings? And then I was thinking, well, all of the governing body members, they're doing like makeup and stuff. So is it more common for men to wear earrings or men to wear makeup? Because if their whole argument is going to be, well, you shouldn't be feminizing yourself or some baloney like that, I think it would be really funny just to ask them, okay, so you can't wear earrings because that, you know, enhances your appearance or whatever, but you can put on makeup to enhance your appearance, even though in their barbaric reptilian brains, earrings and makeup are associated with like women and gays. So anyway, just some random bigotry, but yeah, look out for that video because it will be a fun one. I have some good ideas for how to pull it off. But anyway, let's get into this for real.
Gilead missionaries who first introduced the truth to my parents and helped them to the point of baptism. So I have very pleasant memories of Gilead graduates being around my home since childhood. The greatest legacy I received through my Gilead training is the privilege of getting to know Jehovah's beautiful personality more deeply. I have been studying the Bible since childhood, but doing so with the help of the Gilead instructors really helped me to make connections that I had never put together before. You don't go to Gilead to learn abilities, which can sometimes overshadow spiritual qualities. Instead, a very important part of Gilead training is the study of Christ's personality. You know, Jesus is mostly remembered not so much for his abilities, but for how he perfectly reflected the beautiful qualities of his Father. By getting to know Jehovah and Jesus better, I was able to better see where I need to improve. Of course, it can be discouraging at times to not always act as they do, but that has helped me to have the proper perspective and rely on Jehovah, begging him for his guidance while waiting for his help. One of the best lessons I took away from Gilead is that people are more important than tasks or deadlines. People are the reason for our assignments. And that is why I need to show my love to my brothers and sisters. Honestly, I don't feel at all qualified for this assignment. But I learned that if Jehovah assigns us a certain task, for sure, he will give us what we need to accomplish it.
All right, one other story of Wally, because as I was sitting here watching it, I couldn't help but be reminded of the time when I was doing my cart witnessing training. I think I've told this story before, but I'll tell it again. I was doing the training, and it was a whole 6-hour long course, and then you have to go do practice, where the instructor can sort of eyeball you and kind of see how you're doing. Anyway, I wore a jacket that had pockets here on my boobs. Boob pockets, right? That's just what was on my jacket. And the instructor thought that my jacket, because it had too many pockets, it had pockets here. So if you're wearing a suit jacket, you can have a pocket on one side, but oh no, don't have a pocket on the other side. And he literally had a conversation where he called another couple elders that were involved in the program, and they had a discussion on the whole matter, and they came to the conclusion that I couldn't participate in the actual on-street training, which is just standing next to a cart next to a building or by a subway station, not talking to anybody, by the way, because my jacket had pockets here and here. It was unacceptable in their in their minds, because my jacket had too many pockets.
Get out of here. Get out of here, man. Shit, I'm saying.
Now, as I was watching this, something kind of occurred to me. Hey, that guy's wearing a dress shirt. And that dress shirt not only had some patterns here, but it was blue. And also it had 2 pockets here. And this guy's on the broadcasting? Wee woo wee, sound the alarms. He has too many pockets on his shirt. He can't be on the broadcasting. Oh my goodness. Boy, oh boy, does that crack me up to see that, because I like to imagine that brother that told me that I couldn't participate in the non-training that they were doing because I had too many pockets. I like to think that he's sitting there at his house or his little Bethel room or wherever he is now, and he is looking at this why so many pockets? Why is there so many pockets? It just really cracks me up. I'm sorry, Ziz, I didn't mean to yell. But oh goodness. And then what else did he say? I guess I should probably re-listen to that because I got on this little rampage. Oh yeah, ability. Yeah, and so then the other thing that he was mentioning is basically how it's more important for you to be a yes man. Your ability to be a good organizer, your ability to be a good leader of people, your ability to be a good speaker, that doesn't really matter. What matters is that you have the inner qualities and that you can reflect those in your personality. And what they're really saying is, be a yes man, the better you're able to follow instructions, the better you're able to follow what we are saying to do, and the more of a yes man you are, that's what makes you valuable in the organization. So ability, out the window. You don't need ability. You just need to be able to say, yes, sir. Thank you, sir. No problem, sir. Yes. 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 That's okay. Yes, sir.
That was very nice. Certainly appreciate it. Now, we have one of the Gilead instructors next, Brother James Cawthon. And he's chosen as his subject, Thriving in the Trenches.
Located in the western Pacific Ocean.
Well, we can clearly see why Tony Morris was hesitating. Like, next up, are we really going to put this guy on screen? Okay, looks like they're giving me the thumbs up. He doesn't make any jokes or say anything nice. And I'm not trying to be mean to this guy or anything, but the first thing and just how he approaches it. In the western Pacific Ocean. Even maybe Tony Morris is like, wow, this guy's going to be boring. Anyway, I'm not trying to be mean to this guy, but every time I say I'm not trying to be mean, I literally am being mean. So, yeah, I'm a bad person.
The Mariana Trench is the deepest known location on Earth. To help you get an idea of its depth, imagine that you could stack the Empire State Building in the trench. It would take 25 such buildings to go from the bottom of the trench before you would reach sea level. It is also one of the deadliest places on Earth. Why is that? In a word, pressure. The crushing pressure, water pressure on the floor of the trench is more than 8 tons per square inch. Now, to give you some idea, that would be the equivalent of having about 50 jumbo jets on top of you. Surely, no life could live in that trench.
Well, apparently I'm not the only one that thinks that this guy is a little bit dry, because now we have some graphics coming in, because you couldn't picture 12 Empire State Buildings. You couldn't picture 24 jumbo jets. So you have to have this strange little graphic of all these little buildings going and these jumbo jets with this little naked dude standing underneath it like, oh boy. Anyway, so yeah, we have our first graphics of the demonstration, and I'm guessing that they put those there on purpose because they knew who their speaker was going to be. I do feel sorry for this particular class of Gilead, because he was one of their instructors.
At least that's what scientists thought. But they were wrong. When they finally developed a submersible that would take them down into the trench, they found life teeming. And not just surviving, but thriving. Now, how is that possible? It's possible, friends, because Jehovah, our Creator, knows how to deal with pressure. Jehovah knows how to deal with pressure.
Jehovah knows how to deal with pressure. Jehovah knows how to deal with pressure. Jehovah knows how to deal with pressure. Jehovah knows how to deal with pressure. Yeah, Jehovah, he knows how to deal with pressure. This guy thought this line was so good. He just looked so proud of himself. He's like, oh, I got this whole illustration. Gonna have these graphics, all of this thing with pressure. And then Jehovah, he knows how to deal with pressure. I just needed some finger guns. If we could have just had a bang. Oh, this guy was so proud of himself. But anyway, that aside, what sort of point is he making? Well, God only knows. But when he's saying that, well, scientists, they thought nothing could live down here. Okay. And then they found life wasn't just a surviving, it was thriving. It was teeming with life. Okay, so what did scientists do? Clearly, what science did was they said, well, those are supernatural beings that are coming from hell, and our theory and our model still is true despite what the evidence says. Oh wait, no, that's what people that want to advocate for a literal Bible do when evidence is presented against them. I think it's funny that he gives an example and he says, well, the scientists are wrong. Well, their model and their theory were wrong, and when they were presented with new evidence, they changed their mind, which is perfectly acceptable. You don't have to be like just this hard rock. I'm stubborn, never going to change your ways. I would like to see Watchtower follow the example that this guy is giving and change their mind when they are presented with evidence. I don't know, 607?
And this is a fact that should be comforting to all of us. Why? Because pressure in this system of things is increasing. Strain, stress, anxiety for all people at all levels. And the Bible tells us that these pressures are likely to increase in the near future. But the good news is that Jehovah does more than just equip his servants to survive. He can actually make one thrive. Here's an example. Try this on for pressure. You're surrounded by men who hate you. In addition to hunting you down with a view to taking your life, they've spread slander and lies about you everywhere. Your name has become a reproach. When people see you coming, they turn and run the other way because they feel that your time is short and they don't want to be caught in the crosshairs. Wherever you look, it seems like terror is waiting for you. And as a result of these problems, you're struggling with depression. Your own sins are staring you in the face. The whole experience has taken a toll on your health. You can't sleep, your stamina is shot, your body is wasting away.
My whole life being turned upside down. Being depressed. Anytime I see someone I know, they turn around and walk the other direction. You can't sleep at night. You have a lot of anxiety. Is he describing what it's like leaving the organization?
The key to not just surviving, but thriving under extreme pressure is to have the internal pressure equal to the external. And when this is true, there is no amount of pressure that can crush you. So in a spiritual sense, and David received the internal fortitude, or as some say, the intestinal fortitude, meaning the courage and the strength that would make him equal to the pressure weighing in on him. And how do we know that he received that? Well, let's go back to Psalm 31 for just a moment.
So I cut a little bit of this guy's talk out because is it dry and boring. There was a couple more little graphs that he showed, but anyway, we'll move right along past that. I did find this one kind of interesting because of the wording he used. We need to make the external pressure equal to the internal pressure equal to the external pressure. I don't really get like what he's saying. Is like you need to pressure yourself more. Like you need to feel all of this pressure from Watchtower, and then you can deal with all the pressure that's coming from the outside. So we're going to keep pressuring you so that way it's equal to the amount of pressure you face from Satan. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. But anyway, I guess we'll see where he's going with this whole David comparison. As long as we don't fall asleep. Hang with me, please, team. Don't click off the video. I know it's really boring, but there will be another speaker. Hopefully he's more interesting. But if he's not more interesting, I'm here, and I have a bell on my head. So that's cool.
David's experience in the trench reached further than he ever knew. Jonah, while in the belly of the great fish, cited words from Psalm 31. Jeremiah, who had many trialsome times in his life, often echoed phrases from Psalm 31. And Jesus Christ himself, the very Son of God, his final words from the stake was a quotation from Psalm 31:5. You see, it really doesn't matter how great the pressure is. It only matters where the pressure lies. Do not let it come between you and Jehovah and your worship and service. Don't let it come between you.
Yeah, I'm skipping a lot of this talk because my oh my, is it really boring. And whoever's editing this, they were just trying to throw something in there that would make it more interesting. I'm not sure if the little graphics they showed were actually displayed while he was giving the talk. Part of me thinks that they were added in later by whoever was releasing this as part of the JW broadcasting, and maybe it's like when I'm editing a video, I'm like, okay, Wally, this is getting real boring right now. You need something in there just to spice it up or distract people or just something, anything entertaining. But yeah, not a whole lot to say with this talk. I mean, his pressure illustrations, kind of silly. The little graphics are kind of silly. Yeah, that's about it.
Thank you, Brother Cawthon, for your nice, insightful comments. Much appreciated. Now, our third interview involves a brother who serves as a member of the branch committee in Sri Lanka. He graduated from the 146th class of Gilead, so just 4 back. Listen carefully as he explains how Gilead training helped him to see things about his personality that he needed to refine if he'd become a stabilizing and strengthening influence in his branch territory.
Well, I did think it was interesting, as Tony Morris is introducing the next example that they're giving. It jogged my memory of the one from the brother that was in the Ecuador branch, and how he made the comment of it's not about, ability, it's about more or less just being a yes man and doing what you're told. How interesting that right after those comments are made, it's really not about your ability. They haul one of the most dry, boring, lifeless speakers out there. I just thought it was really funny. Don't know if it was intentional, but if it was and they were having a laugh behind the scenes, hats off to you. That's pretty funny. Anyway, let's see what this Gilead graduate from Sri Lanka has to say.
Brother and Sister Siva Kumaran will be returning to Sri Lanka.
In Gilead, the wonderful thing is you get to learn from the beginning, Jehovah's dealing with humankind, that vast history. Learning that is humbling. How tiny I am, and the small role that I play in Jehovah's organization is a realization. Before going to Gilead, I thought I was a loving person, because we always think we want to be loving people. But during Gilead, it was made aware to me that I had a spiritual blind spot. There were brothers and sisters I didn't really notice before. And that kind of taught me an important lesson. It's not about giving talks, but really it's personal attention that brothers need. So I need to give them my time. And I need to help them understand that Jehovah loves them very much.
Well, as these interviews are going on, something did pop out, or at least got my attention pretty noticeably, and that's how important it is for Watchtower to add their dramatic, classic JW broadcasting music into these interviews. These interviews don't have any music accompanied with them, and they are dull and kind of lifeless. Whereas traditionally on a JW broadcasting, they'll have someone telling their story of, I realized I had a spiritual blind spot. And there would be like this really solemn piano music playing, and then the light will change slightly and it'll get a bit more cheery. So, after talking with many of the brothers and praying to Jehovah and doing research, I was able to correct my false blind spot. The formula that they use. But these ones don't have any music into them, and wow! Does it make a difference, even from the outsider's perspective, just from a pure, hey, I'm trying to do a video on this, and that means I'm going to watch this whole thing. Good God, has to be the most boring one so far. So hopefully we'll get something a little more spicy. But if we don't get anything spicy, you know what? I have a bell on my head, so that's still cool.
Mark Newmer. The title of his talk is I Cling to You, You Hold On to Me.
That's what she said.
Brother Newmer. In this talk, we want you to understand the sustaining power of loyal love. Because it is this quality, loyal love, and its power that will help you face future trials and challenges with confidence in Jehovah. Well, you perhaps remember the definition of loyal love from a written review, but it's this. It is love motivated by a strong commitment and a deep attachment. And here's how King David described loyal love that existed between him and Jehovah. He said at Psalm 63:8,
Bueller, Bueller, Bueller.
Yeah, was that guy talking? I wasn't really paying attention. Holy moly, that was boring. I think we'll just cut that whole thing out and maybe just have a little montage of me playing with Zizi, because that will be way more entertaining to people than listening to that interview. I think basically what he said, he was kind of a jerk before, and Gilead taught him how to not be a jerk. God's Spirit in action.
we want you to remember this. When you come face to face with future trials, and you will, or challenges in your life, and you will, this is what happens in life. Be in the right place. Do the right thing. With the right attitude. By doing this, you declare, Jehovah, I cling to you, and I trust you hold on to me.
Yeah, this talk goes on for about 7 minutes, and honestly, I can wrap it up in about 15 seconds. Yeah, in Luke, there's this verse talking about this 84-year-old named Anna. If you think about how long she would have been always at the temple and loyally serving Jehovah, then these things in Israel's history must have happened, and she witnessed it, and she could have been discouraged because of the crazy things happening, but she didn't let it faze her. So, what lessons can we learn? Let's be just like Anna. No matter what's happening around us, no matter what's going on, no matter if things make sense or they don't make sense, whether we receive blessings or don't receive blessings, just maintain your loyalty to the organization. Bing, bow, bop, we're done. And you guys don't have to watch 7 minutes of that video or that talk, because honestly, it was brutal.
But this is the day when we hand out assignments to all of these students.
The morning we knew that we were going to get our assignment, we went down to morning worship, and then we had to line up and we were waiting to get our assignment, and my stomach was churning and I felt really sick with excitement, as well as the fact that you knew that whatever Brother Jairus said, the next sentence that came out of his mouth would determine the rest of your life.
It's hard to imagine that 28 years have gone by since our initial assignment, but Gilead training really helped us to understand that things wouldn't always be easy, and that when things weren't easy, that we should never overreact to situations, but to keep calm and trust in Jehovah.
I think one of the outstanding sections of Gilead for me was the section dealing with the Gospels and Jesus Christ. Jesus was always kind. He was always reasonable in his dealings with people. And so in class, the emphasis was not on head knowledge, but how we can imitate Jesus Christ in our dealings with others.
How can I sum up my talk? Be in the right place and do the right thing. All right, thanks.
And I remember a couple of phrases: people over productivity, and the kind thing is always the right thing to do. These lessons are still with me all these years later.
We were taught how to study, and it helped us to study in a way that would build a pool or a foundation of principles, so that when we had a trial, we would have somewhere to go and dip into that pool of principles that would apply to any situation that you might face. And it's true, at the time you go through, you're taking in all the knowledge. You don't know when and where you're going to use that, but it teaches you the method of, let's store all this in the bank, and then when I need it, I know where I can go and pick it from. One example that comes to mind is a lecture we had that highlighted Romans chapter 15 and verse 3, where it talked about how even the Christ did not please himself. So thinking about that lecture makes me think of a situation when we'd been in the field missionaries for a couple of years. We were invited to go into the traveling work. So I was thinking to myself, can I really do this? But then I reflected back on that lecture, Romans 15:3, that Christ didn't please himself. It's not about me. It's about doing Jehovah's will. It's about the people you serve. Reflecting on that helped me to see myself in that big picture and realize, no, if Jesus could do that, then this is what I have to do first. I put the brothers and sisters first, and we thoroughly enjoyed being in that circuit. I don't even know why I was so worried, because at the end of 3 years, we didn't even want to leave.
That was a little bit interesting hearing the mind of a Gilead graduate, because she said it plain and simple. Whatever came out of Brother Jairus's mouth, the next sentence, that would determine the rest of our entire lives. And how true it is when you commit your entire life to Watchtower and you're in this full-time service, special pioneer, missionary world, and at any moment, you're just a cog in a system, and if one cog breaks or fails, you might just get removed, and that's shut down, and then you get moved to a different one. And I feel especially bad because, like, it worked out for these people, but what about all the people that were in Bethel for years and years and years and years, and then they started sort of sending them out to the field, as they called it, which was essentially kicking them out of Bethel and making them go get real jobs after they had no training whatsoever and having to figure it out on their own. And they had a special assignment in North Dakota. Yeehaw, we're going to Wisconsin, hun. Can you believe it? We've served at Bethel for 20 years, but now we're needed in the middle of Wisconsin. And 5-10 years after this, they're going to actually close this entire Kingdom Hall down, and we'll just be left to figure it all out on our own. Golly, it's very crazy. And her statement was so accurate. You know, whatever came out of his mouth, that would change the course of our entire lives. So how very true. Also, they do seem like they're kind of nice. Maybe it's just the accent. Who knows?
The impact of Gilead is not fully appreciated in the moment. But as the years have gone by, I do find myself reflecting on the lessons that were taught during that class. And I see how it's shaped the way I think and feel all these years later. So I would say, yeah, it's had a life or a personality changing effect on me.
When I think back of standing in that line, I mean, it is very vivid in my memory of how I felt, and my stomach was definitely churning, but these 28 years, I have not regretted one single minute of it. Being with the brothers and sisters, serving in different forms of assignment, I could definitely say without one shadow of a doubt that I still would not swap it for the world.
I gotta be honest, I kind of like the cut of these guys' jibs to a certain degree, because yeah, they're doing everything for the wrong reasons, but you know, they're probably indoctrinated and they probably don't even know better. But their whole spiel that they're giving here is that it's more important to serve other people, and they're talking about human beings, like people in their field or in their territory, versus, you know, just being like stern, following the rules, kindness wherever I forgot the expression exactly that he used, but you know, kindness wherever it's possible, and you know, putting themselves or putting others ahead of themselves. And man, you almost wish that people like this were on the governing body or were making the rules, because at least they would be following some of the basic principles in the Bible and not trying to just needlessly and endlessly burden people's lives with just crazy, obscure rules that they just invent in their own heads and find scriptures that fit that mold. But these people seem to be at least nice enough. It is unfortunate that they are spending their entire lives attempting to trick and lie to people. But at least they're not doing so intentionally, and I don't know, they kind of have the smell of someone that probably disagrees with certain things about Watchtower, but have just been in it too long to really realize the difference. But anyway, just a couple random observations that I had there.
Well, we've enjoyed a rich spiritual feast so far, but there's more to come.
What a blessing these graduates will be to the brothers and sisters in their assignments. The second and third parts of the graduation will be available on jw.org later this month. We know you're excited to see the rest of the program.
This is a problem I hadn't quite anticipated for a few reasons. I didn't know they were going to do 2 and 3 parts to this Gilead graduation. In my mind, this part was pretty long in and of itself, and it was starting to drag on. It kind of felt like, okay, they're kind of running out of things to say. They're bringing in the B speakers here and shutting it down, but it looks like we have parts 2 and 3 to look forward to later on this month, and maybe I'll have to get some more holiday hats, because 3 apparently wasn't quite enough. So we'll see how all of this shakes out. Thank you guys so much for joining me and listening to some of my comments as we review this Gilead graduation, and we will see you next time.